Hi everyone, welcome back to Flat Out. If you're new around these parts, we look at the big races upcoming for the week, almost checkpoints through the flat season. And checkpoints there have been aplenty, but it doesn't get bigger than this. The Derby, the Oaks, the Coronation Cup, the Derby Festival at Epsom is something to truly savour year on year. The show rolls on to Epsom off the back of the Irish Guineas, an episode that if you watched and you followed a few of the tips, you wouldn't have done too badly. Jack Nicol, Tom Bull, welcome back. How are we both?
Yeah, very good, Dunkers, very good.
Excellent, yeah. Looking forward to another big weekend of big racing.
Absolutely. Let's bang the drum, because if we're not going to, who is going to? Good weekend for yourself, the one we last saw you?
Yeah, I think 4 of the 5 horses are kind of name-checked. I'm including Al McCam, who for the Brigadier Gerard, he won as well. So, yeah, Sundinian Warrior was the only one who kind of let down the full house, but I thought he ran a really good race, and that sets him up nicely to go back and trip for a mile to the Queen Anne. So,
yeah,
it was good.
You'd certainly be keeping the faith, wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely. I thought that shows he's a proper horse, and I mean, he's come a long way in quick time. It was only a second run on turf, so he's gone there, hopefully to the Queen Anne. I know it's not set in stone yet, but I'm really hoping he does run there, because he'll have a big chance, I think.
Absolutely. And somehow I tipped a couple of winners, Magira and Amalok. Both of them kind of similar. I wasn't quite sure. Well, I needed basically the length of both of the straights to start feeling comfortable.
Good pick then, Magira, that's for sure.
Good filly.
Yeah,
really good filly.
She, yeah.
She'll be on to Ascot, which is where you would... They're kind of separate, aren't they? Ascot and Epsom type horses. Some will run at both. There will be races that lead into it. But the main races, Tom, you're looking at standalone and fantastic races in their own right.
You are, and I think one of the big sort of pluses about this year is that we've got the winner of the Guineas, both Guineas, going for the Derby and the Oaks.
That's fantastic.
But it's quite rare that both go for. I mean, you might get one, every now and then, but it is rare that both milers are stepping up to a mile and a half, and I think that adds a definite spice to it that we don't always get.
Absolutely. Was that a surprise to you, Jack? I was personally surprised. I get Godolphin owning both of them, a traditionalist in Sheikh Mohammed, who harks back to a time where the Guineas winner would go on to the Derby, or the 1,000 Guineas winner would go on to the Oaks. It's still rare these days.
Not so much ruling court. I suppose Desert Flower's the one that, I suppose when we get into the nitty-gritty later on, that, it might not have been the obvious race for her, but no, it's great that both of them do. I think it was always kind of going to be the case with ruling court, but no, it's great that both of them are going to turn up, yeah.
Right, let's dive straight into the Derby, and the man just to my left of Tom's head, Aidan O'Brien, he's won 10 of them. Ballydor have won 11 of them, adding Pourmois back in 2011. They've got the favourite once again in Delacroix, has followed the same route as Galileo and High Chaparral in winning the Ballysacks and the Derby trial at Leopardstown. Are you with or against him?
Well, I'm against him as far as a win selection is concerned, but I think he's very, very solid. He's been strong at the line over a mile and a quarter, extended mile and a quarter so far in his starts over that trip, and I don't see why he won't stay a mile and a half for all that his pedigree doesn't necessarily see screaming out for it. The Dubarwi angle is interesting, isn't he? Because we haven't got a winner of the Derby who's by Dubarwi yet, so that'll be fascinating. But I mean, at some stage, I'm sure there will be one. So I wouldn't read too much into that. But I think he's very solid, and clearly Aidan O'Brien, I think, has come round to him being their first hope for the last month and a half or so, now that we saw what happened with the Lion of Winter. But I think Delacroix has been slowly on the back burner, just impressing everybody with how kind of ruthlessly solid he is. He's very straightforward. He's had a lot of starts now. I like that when you head to a Derby. He's very seasoned, and I think he's a worthy adversary to many of these, but he wouldn't be my win selection.
Dubarwi by Tepin. That wouldn't scream Derby winner to me, Jack. What do you reckon?
I know Tom just said there that I don't think Dubarwi's a spring chicken, is he? I'm not sure. We will get one. He's not getting any younger, and I've always had this thing about Dubarwi. He's definitely sort of answered my doubts about him in terms of getting top class Group 1. I just thought he was a little bit overrated, but certainly the last sort of 5 years he kind of answered those questions. Now, I'm not saying he's like overrated in the grander sense, because he just churns out group winners. But in terms of getting absolute top notchers, he kind of has silenced me in the last few years, having a few more classic winners. But
Fair play, Dubarwi.
in terms of a a Derby winner, I wouldn't be with Delacroix here. I couldn't understand how, the blowout from the line in winter and that, how Ruland Court wasn't. It's no surprise that he's going to be my selection, but I wasn't blown away by Delacroix. I think there is a few doubts. Certainly more on the pedigree side as well. I'd have my doubts about him.
I think he could turn out to be a really good horse and a very, very smart horse throughout the season. I'm not with him for this race. But there are a few in the field that I wouldn't be. I'm looking for a horse who's actually nailed on, I should say, to be staying the trip. You think Ruland Court will stay the trip?
Oh, no, I wouldn't say he's cast iron to stay, but I would certainly have confidence over Delacroix in terms of him. But Ruland Court justified. Secretary Troy last year won it, didn't he? So I wouldn't say it's absolutely nailed on, but I definitely think I'd have more confidence than Delacroix for sure.
Who do you fancy?
I fancy Ruland Court to win as well. I think he's going to be extremely hard to beat. I think the 1.5 angle is interesting, more for the fact that they've clearly had this race in mind even before the Guineas. He was always going to be Charlie Appleby's Derby hope, Godolphin's Derby hope. He was the only entry in the Derby for Godolphin at one stage, and I think he won the Guineas despite potentially not really being a miler. He wants further than that, so it shows you how good he is, that he was still able to win a Guineas and still able to beat a horse as good as Field of Gold in second. Now, the dam's sire is High Chaparral, so there is confidence in the pedigree that he could stay, and I get the feeling, I spoke to William Buick earlier on today actually, that William's extremely confident, the whole camp are, that he's going to be fine over the trip. It's the way that they've alluded a few times to the way that he moves and the way that he's balanced, and that they do think that Epsom, I think, is going to be absolutely ideal for him. We saw him coming down the dip, didn't we, with no problems whatsoever at Newmarket. So I think he's very solid. He's extremely exciting. He's done very little wrong so far, and I know that this race has been in mind ever since he won in Meydan. So, given the fact he's put a Guineas together on the way, I think he's a very good pick for me.
None too shabby.
I'm surprised he's not favourite, a bit like Jack. I really thought he would be. I don't quite know why Delacroix's in front of him in the betting, because Ruland Court's done very little wrong and everything right, and Field of Gold has boosted the form. So
it's not as if the Guineas form isn't strong
exactly.
either.
Yeah.
It gets better, doesn't it?
I know. I really don't. It must be the Aidan O'Brien factor, but at the same time, Charlie Appleby is a genius in his own right, so it doesn't really make much sense to me.
People have always talked about the Guineas in recent years being the strongest trial, as well as the Dante, and we've got a few horses coming from the Dante this year being no exception. We'd expect that. How do you rate the overall strength of the form in the context of them as legitimate Derby contenders?
Well, I think it's going to be a decent form line, because it always is. I mean, you go to the Derby, that's the strongest traditional Derby trial, and the way that Pride of Arras won it, the way that Damasus was staying on the second, there were a few other highly touted individuals in behind. You'd think it's probably a decent race. Hard to work out exactly how strong the form is just yet, because it's still pretty early. The Derby obviously can tell us a lot more about that. Pride of Arras, though, the winner, did it so impressively. I thought he showed a turn of foot that was way too much for his opposition. That was just a second start, put up by you on the podcast. Let's bang that drum again, because it was a big price. I just worry whether he'd be able to replicate that turn of foot quite the same way over 1.5 miles. Are you in the same boat?
Well, I wonder if he's going to get a similar kind of setup. I would suggest probably not. The finishing speed percentage was well above 100 on that occasion. It suggested it was more of a dash. I was impressed with what he was able to do on that occasion, Jack. I just can't see the Derby being a similar kind of contest. And this also being the third start of his life, I personally see that as a negative. I'm loath to be against him. I actually fancy Damasus each way. Would you put me off?
No, in terms of your initial question to Tom, I think the Guineas and the Dante are the two key races. I'll be surprised if the winner isn't from these two. The three horses in question, Ruland Court, Pride of Arras and Damasus, they would make up my 1, 2, 3 on my shortlist, really. I wouldn't be... I think Pride of Arras, you have to give him the advantage of that was his first start of the season, so he's going to have naturally that improvement to come. It is interesting, he's not going to have that same setup, because there is going to be you'd think there's going to be no hiding place, as is usually the case here at Epsom. Damasus, the vibes are really strong from the connections, aren't they? And he went for a little spin round there. Not that those breakfast of the stars means absolutely anything. I mean, he's just proved that he's still alive on that day. Do you know what I mean? Absolute waste of time, really.
Say goodbye to your eggs and bacon.
But no, I'm not sure how Damas's really can. I just think Pride of Ours is going to have that extra bit of natural improvement, and I just think Pride of Ours is going to be a better horse. Damas's has had that run at Sandown the time before. I don't think this might be too much more, but I think that form is really strong. I'm not sure yet about the line in winter as well. Obviously, he was a little bit behind, as was Nightwalker, who was eye-catching. I don't think he's a proper top-notch. I think he's going to be a Group 2, Group 3. But the line winter, Ryan obviously he was ranking early. Ryan was fighting him. And then he'd given him an easy time in the last furlong. But it wasn't as if he's beaten a mile.
No.
But it's been a roller coaster this last week for him, hasn't it? I don't really know. I'm not sure if he's going to run, to be honest.
Can you back him with any confidence? I just can't see how you can.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because in recent history, I haven't got to go far back at all, we had a similar profile, didn't we? The City of Troy and August Rodin both coming into the Derby, having disappointed previously. Whereas this time...
He's ran better than those two.
Well, yeah, he ran better than them, but this time there is a bit of a difference because they seemingly have one who's higher up now in the pecking order.
And those with City of Troy and Auguste Rodin, they were too bad to be true runs based on what they'd achieved earlier on in their career. It was almost easier to say, line through that, Aidan's going to do the business.
But where is this confidence coming from, Delacroix? Because it hardly blew you away the last time, did it?
No, everything was set up for him to win that day. He sat prominent. It was impossible for anything to close.
Delacroix, so...
I get the feeling it might be something to do with the comments made after the race, and since then, the general feeling I think that this is going to be the number one for Aidan O'Brien. I think that is the only reason I can explain that market confidence. I still don't get why he's favourite, as I've said.
This is, of course, the Epsom Derby Festival podcast, but if you are looking for the Ledger winner, I think Lambourne, I'll elect him now. I think he's a proper stayer. I think he showed that at Chester. And I think, like a few other horses, that you usually, in Aidan's pack that he'll send to the Derby, you can go, okay, that's the one they think will win. That's the one they think could win. And that's probably the Ledger winner who will take this experience, might take in a few races in between, see where he lands, might end up in a Ledger. I thought actually Los Angeles was going to be that horse last year. Turns out they had other plans and different horses for it. I just think Lambourne's a proper stayer. I don't think he'll have any problems with this, but I think it might actually end up being a little sharp for him. Is there any horse we haven't covered?
Well, I'd throw in Stanhope Gardens for sure, just because he's an interesting contender, isn't he? Because
what a prep.
Well, indeed, a prep that was innovated by Rev Beckett himself. And this is a son of Guy Arth. They've always said that he's likely to be their main Derby hope ahead of Pride of Arras. And now that Pride of Arras has gone on the Dante, I wonder if Rafe has probably changed his opinion of that. Certainly the market favours Pride of Arras significantly over Stanhope Gardens. But we get to see him over an extended trip, so we don't know how he's going to get on. Pedigree suggests he will get it, and obviously his form ties in with Delacroix from last year, and one's 11-4, one's 20-18-1. So if you're looking for a bit of value, discrepancy-wise, it would be with Stanhope Gardens, even though he's got a bit to prove, isn't he?
I would kind of have just said the same thing. Yeah, no, I echo all of that. We're going to get on to Giselle very soon, aren't we, in the Oaks, and she's won an egg and spoon race against three rivals, against horses rated in the high 80s. Both of those horses have done little more than kind of prove their well-being again, and having a run, it's obviously a highly unorthodox prep. I said in the last episode that I thought Stanhope was going to be Beckett's number one Derby hope, so I have to agree. I think at a bigger price, he would definitely be one that catches my eye. I just think perhaps he's had a setback, because I would have thought they would be sure to go for a traditional trial. I suppose the Dante would have been the last.
That's it.
Yeah, there's something sticking in my... all the stable tours he was kind of saying, and then he just never turned out for all of them. And that's why I said, I thought maybe they've put him in the wrong race there in the last episode. But he's a very interesting one, and as Tom kind of says there, his form does tie in with Delacroix. I know Delacroix has proven it at a higher level in stronger races at the right distances as well. But around 18-1, I think he's an interesting one at a bigger price.
Selection?
Ruling Court for me.
Selection?
Ruling Court for me.
Damasus each way for me. That is the Derby. Aidan O'Brien looking for an 11th win in the Derby. Charlie Appleby in the Oaks looking for a first win. That, I don't know why that necessarily surprised me. There have been near misses, like Dance Sequence springing to mind from last year. And there was a nice one that was beaten by Forever Together or Together Forever, whichever one of
Wild Illusion.
Wild Illusion,
That's
where they
the
came to the stand side
rail, yes.
when it was soft ground. He's got a great chance, according to the market, with Desert Flower. The same question for both of you: does she stay the Oaks trip?
Well, it's a really interesting one, I think, because William Buick, of course, is looking for the Oaks to complete the classic set. Yeah. So that would be some achievement if he managed to do that. Very, very few have done that, so he'd be in a illustrious list, that's for sure. Look, we don't know, do we? That's the long and the short of it. She could stay. She could. Pedigree-wise, I think there's a lot for her to prove. She's by a miler. She's out of a miler. Dam size a miler. It doesn't scream further than that. The Dam is a half-sister to a mile and a half winner, so there is some encouragement on the Dam side of things and the Grand Dam as well, which I think Jack's going to come to in a second. But I couldn't be as confident as some that she'll stay the trip. She's got loads of speed. I think she'd stay a mile and a quarter for sure. And there is, mile one win isn't a pedigree, but a mile and a half, I wouldn't be confident. I think for that reason, she is worthy of taking on a favourite's price. Put it that way.
Agree?
I don't necessarily think she's going to be an out-and-out stay at the trip, but I don't think that might matter. I think her class might just see her through, and for me, she is a clear win selection for me. Yeah, I think she's going to be too good.
Do you think she's value at her current price?
I think it's just come from the back of talking about the Derby. I think it's going to be an absolutely brilliant renewal, and there's depth. I think there could be 6-7 runners here, and I think it's a below average renewal.
That's a sad indictment.
And to be fair, I think 6 to 4.30 away, I think probably is a bit of value, to be honest.
Yeah, it doesn't quite have the makeup that you'd really love it to. I think this year's Oaks. Some people love those types of races where it's this one wins or it doesn't. A short price favourite, or maybe there's a shock. Of those who might be able to put it up to her, say if she wasn't able to stay, who would your main contender be?
Well, I hope she runs, because I think World's got a huge chance if she does run, but it's a bit of an if at the moment. She's not guaranteed to. I actually think they will run her. I think they're going to run all three, the Aidan O'Brien camp. Of the three, I'd be much keener on her over the other two. I think Giselle was so keen at Lingfield, and you can't get away with that. And what's probably going to be a small field at Epsom, I think it's just going to. I know that you've got an issue with her about taking the prelims as well, potentially because of that.
Yeah, 500,000 people aren't descending on the Downs anymore, but it's still a fair test, and there's fanfare around it, and there's a parade, and that didn't even happen at Lingfield, and I know that was a first run back, but that would be a little concerning for me. She might just be way too talented. She might have come on mentally, and
she'll need to She'll have to settle. She won't get away with what she did at Lingfield in this stronger race, and for me, that's a big concern. I have to say. Minnie Hawk, the form of that Cheshire Oaks is pretty weak. She'll have to improve significantly to win this. Whereas Whirl absolutely bolted up in the Mutadora, and stepping up again in trip I think is going to be fine for her. I think she'll get the trip. She was so strong at the line at York. I really hope that she runs. I really hope that Ryan runs it. Of the three, she'd be my fancy of the three Aidan O'Brien runners, and she'd be my fancy overall. I think she's got a great chance if she runs.
I love Saad bin Saror doing a proper side thing of chucking a one race, one win filly into a Guineas and it actually working out quite well. And for the third run, stepping her up half a mile in trip and putting her in the Oaks in Elwertine. What do you make of her chance?
Well, she is a relative unknown third start, but her proximity to Desert Flower obviously gives her a chance. I just think the way that the Guineas was run, Desert Flower cut out a lot. Well, she made obviously virtually all of the run, and I don't think she was ever going to be able to go and stretch away and win like she did at the back end as a 2-year-old. If anything, I think in the last half furlong she was actually pulling away Desert Flower. It was the horses kind of the near side pulling into the middle. I'm not sure she's quite up to the standard of some of the bigger market principles. I'd absolutely, if she was my filly, I'd absolutely have a go. Why not? Of course. I just think maybe this would be a step too far. around a track like Epsom on just your third start.
Are there any outside of the Blue Bloods, the Godolphin and Ballydoyle fight that there usually would be in the classics that either of you feel might have a sneaky chance in behind?
Revoir is interesting, I think, for Rafe Beckett, because he's done well with the family line in the past. I mean, the dam is related to Look Here at a distance, but obviously she won the Oaks. So the fact that there is that strong pedigree line in there is interesting. She'll need to improve on what she's done so far, but she's very lightly raced, and Rafe is a talent with his fillies, there's no doubt about that. He's done so well with them in this race in the past as well. Talent, another one. So she'd be interesting. But again, it's difficult, isn't it? Because she's only had 2 starts, and you know there's going to be improvement to come, but you don't know to what extent over the trip. It's very difficult to weigh up, and I'd almost rather be with horses who have shown a bit more.
Are we completely, well, I certainly am not, I was wondering about the two of you, are we completely discounting her Victor from Newbury in Kill and Queen, who, I mean, if the rain was to stay away, looks unlikely at this stage. We're currently recording this on Monday, and there's a forecast for light rain at least all the way through on the Downs up until Friday, and maybe even into Friday and Saturday. But I think she's wildly overpriced for a trainer who is in unbelievable form as it stands.
Well, Revoir's 10-1, and she's 25, so that makes no sense. If you take their last run together, don't
She's
you?
more exposed. We know more
that's
about
a big
her.
discrepancy, isn't it?
Trainer thinks she'll stay all day. What do you reckon?
I think on that Newbury run, I'd be taking Revoir next time. And I think the prices are right on the back of that, because another 2 strides, she was in front. She ran green a bit at 2 furlong, probably still penny dropping on just a second start. I think definitely from that run I'd be taking her forward. But I think it's very important you mentioned Walker's form there. That definitely gives her a chance, because everything he's running at the moment is running
And Tom Mark One's on,
incredibly
which is a
well,
big plus too. Yeah.
Exactly.
For sure.
Same owner that had 10 Bob Tony when the John of Gaunt. You can't say that she can't nick third. 25-1. It's currently a price. I just thought in a race it might cut up, as you say. I'm really hoping 3 places.
Sure.
But
That's a good point to mention, that if people do like one at a bigger price, then I'd be getting on now before Wednesday. So but if you can get 3 places, I think it's quite likely that there'll be 7 runners on there.
oh, lovely. Let's hurry this up. I haven't backed her.
But my last thought on Kill and Queen, I would have a worry of stamina with her. Pinatubo, it would just stick in my mind. I'd definitely be taking Revoir out the 2, but I think for me you've got to be looking at the top. They're going to be a class apart. I think that Newbury form is a little bit below what is required here.
Okay. Well, we will see. It's an interesting renewal of the Oaks, if not necessarily the classiest of ones that we've seen over the last few years. Coronation Cup. I mentioned the Oaks has a look of it of one horse to be shot at. The rest of them, well, do they win or do they not? Calandagan is that horse. Why isn't he winning? Is my question.
This race, or in general?
As in what? Yeah, up until this point.
Oh, I see. Right.
Why hasn't he been able to find the opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, I think he was unlucky a little bit in Dubai. I think he should have won that race, to be honest. Last year, he got beaten by Anmart in a bit of a Mickey Mouse race. It was a strange old contest in the end, wasn't it? Half the field got in all sorts of trouble. It was soft ground of the season.
There's your invite to the Kitco box out as well. A Mickey Mouse race. The champion.
I think you mean a Mickey Mouse.
I mean where it was run.
Okay,
no,
good.
I knew what you meant.
Sorry, it's a very strong race. But in terms of the fractions and everything, it was all a bit better.
I thought very ballsy. Very ballsy.
I don't think I could have even picked a stronger race from last season, to be honest. But yeah, I feel like things have conspired against him a few times. On his best form, he takes all the beating here. If he handles the track, he'll win. As simple as that.
Would you back him at 6-4 on?
No, for me, this is a race to sit out. I think there's a few more bits to add to him. I wouldn't be getting too carried away too much with his Maidan run the last time. He put up some amazing sectionals, but the way the race was run allowed him to do that. It's not going to be like that here, I don't think. For me, I think he wants top of the ground to be at his absolute best. I know there's a bit of rain around. If that doesn't materialise, I think that's definitely going to be in his favour. I think he probably should be too good for them here. I do expect Jan Bruegel to come on a ton for that reappearance run. That was a long way short of what we know he can do. I think he's going to improve quite a bit. And Giovalotta obviously ran in that aforementioned Maidan race. He was one of the horses out the back.
Way
So
back, yeah.
that was never going to suit him. This has been a long-term target for them. I'm really annoyed because I knew, well, Botti had, like that this was the race. He could have got 16s. He's about 8-1 now. I think if absolutely pressed, I think that is a value play because I struggle to see him out of the three. I think he's really classy. His win in Hong Kong, his turn of foot there was really impressive. I just think probably if Calandagan gets a clear run, there's no reason why he shouldn't win. He is just a level above these. But those would be kind of my two. Giovalotta, if you want. It's a no bet.
For those reasons, I am putting up Giovalotta each way. Okay. I think, and to add on to it, I think he's unexposed over these kind of trips. And I think 8-1 is big enough about a previous Group 1 winner. Would you be putting your head on the block and saying Calandagan win?
I think Calandagan will win. I do think the horse that might follow him home, a big price, is Bellum Justum.
Okay,
I think he's overpriced. He's a former Epsom winner, so that's a big plus, I think. He'll handle the track well, even though he didn't perform quite so well in the Derby last year. And I thought the way he won the Jockey Club Stakes was really pretty impressive. He beat Silver Knot as though he was standing still. Much stronger stayer than Silver Knot, admittedly, over that 1.5 mile trip. But cheap pieces that day were used first time. I assume they'll be retained again, because why wouldn't you? Seemed to really perk him up. So I think he's overpriced with James Doyle on board. That's a decent 25-1 shot, I'd say.
Lovely. Right, any other fancies for across the 2 days at this stage? I appreciate that full fields are not out. However, you're both fanciers of long-range targets after all, so anything jump out to you?
Yeah, it is only 1:30. We have just had the entries through, but there's a horse I've had in mind for the dash for about, 18 months. He ran in it 2 years ago.
That's a long time for one.
2 years ago, our producer here, Dom, is going to show the replay of. It was the renewal where the gates for some of them didn't quite open.
Yes.
And Vintage Clarets was one of the horses, so he had no chance as it was. He finished down the field. Richard Foy's never won this race. I can't remember where I read the article, but I know that this is a race he's always wanted to win for some reason. Vintage Clarets is in the entries as we speak today. He ran a few times in April, the first two of which were complete blowout runs. He then ran an eye-catching enough race at Ripon, and then again at York last time. You actually see him, he's travelling really well behind American Affair. And, this is a proper group sprinter, I think, this year. He's better than his run at Haydock, American Affair. But anyway, back to Vintage Clarets. He's finished just behind the leaders in the end. I think everything's kind of primed now for him to run a really big race. Two of his last three wins, have come off marks of 93, 94. He's running off 94 here. I think providing he's not out in, stall 1 is a bad draw, but providing he gets a bit of rain as well, I think is important. And he could be a big price. He was sent off 33 at York. Obviously, we have no idea what the prices are now, but I'm expecting him to be at least a double-figure price, and he'd be a decent enough each-way price. And then in the 1.5 mile, so the dash, is 2:45 on Saturday. And then in the 1.5 mile handicap, 4:15, I'll keep this one quite short. Valvano, if you look at his form at York at the back end, he ran behind a Sheikh Obeid horse, I think Bolster or Botanical. I think it's Bolster. Stress Free was second. He's went and both horses have won since. Stress Free just on the weekend. Valvano off a mark of 97. I think he's got a little bit of hand. He ran nicely at Goodwood. I'm waffling a little bit, but idiosyncratic track. Goodwood will transfer to Epsom. I think he's got a bid in hand of 97, and he's unexposed as well over 1.5 miles.
I always hope that our selections win, obviously, on this show, but I hope more than usual that the dash selection goes in if it's been 18 months in the pipeline, because that is a long time to fancy one horse for a specific race, so fair play, good luck.
I'm just picturing a diary at home and 18 months' time. Have you got any further in the pipeline?
They're all in the track.
Yeah,
who is the 2035 Derby? That's what we want to know.
We're
not been born yet, but you might have a pick anyway.
We're not giving away trade secrets in here just yet. A really classy sprinter in his day, Vintage Claret, so I can absolutely see that. The floor is yours, Tom.
Yeah, just one for me. Superposition, who goes in the handicap on Friday. I think it's 4:25. Might just double check that time, but I'm pretty sure it's 4:25. Other than that, 4:35. Yeah, 4:35. Sorry, and. a real improving handicap by the look of things for Ed Dunlop. Was a winner at Kempton when I was there quite recently. Very impressively, clearly was well handicapped that night. £8 higher, thrust into a stronger race on Friday, but the winner the second that he beat that day, Drifts Away, has since been pretty impressive himself when winning on turf. So the form stacks up really well, and he's lightly raced in the context of this competitive handicap. He definitely brings a lot of upside. He's around about 7-1, and William Buick has been booked, so I think he's got a huge chance.
Fantastic. I've got mine like a sieve, so I can never quite remember the names of a lot of my selections or their genders for half of the time as well. I think I misgendered Magira a couple of weeks ago. I think it's Regional Rock, Rafe Beckett's horse in the Woodcut that I quite like. Just the way that he went through the race. Have I got that right?
Yeah.
Happy days. And a colt, fantastic. Yeah, the way he went through the Windsor win on debut, he travelled so strongly, and that's something that you absolutely, there's no compromise on that. You have to travel around Epsom, and especially inexperienced 2-year-olds who are all facing this kind of test for the first time. I think that's such a strong attribute to have. I found myself going through that race and almost putting lines through various other horses. It wasn't a process of elimination. I was hoping that there wouldn't be another one that would take my fancy in that race, and so it has come to pass. He has had just the one run, so there is the caveat of we don't exactly know what type of horse he's going to develop into or whether he'll take to the track, but I think with that cruising speed that it would stand to reason, for me at least, that he would handle it better than some others. I just had a look at a few of the others and thought that could be a little bit of a concern. Epsom is such a cauldron, and the camber for a 2-year-old would not be for every horse, would be for very few of them, and fingers crossed the Regional Rock would be one of them. Now, in our previous episode, if you'll remember, we did a live promo for a merch bundle, which I thought went great. I thought it went really well. That winner, who predicted the correct 1, 2, 3, or the closest at least, in the Irish 2,000 guineas, was Alan Jones. Now, Alan, well done, firstly. You haven't been in touch to collect your prize, so please get in touch with us and leave your details below under this video if possible, or actually, that's probably not a great idea. You don't want to dox yourself. Alan, just get in touch and we'll give you, it was sliders, wasn't it? It was a towel and it was beach shorts.
Yeah, well, I hope he's got a holiday plan, because that would be coming very handy, wouldn't it?
Exactly. Hopefully he's been following the tips. He might be able to afford one.
Yeah, not mine, but yes, the team in general are correct.
Fantastic. Anything else to add for the 2025 Derby Festival, as it's now known?
I'm going to say what I said at the beginning. I think it's absolutely brilliant we have both guineas going for the respective races. I think it adds so much spice to both contests, and I do think it's great that we've got William Buick potentially who could win the first 4 classics of the season, which has never been done ever.
Did you have a chance, sort of off camera, Sir William, before going out? Have you got any winners for us? Is it either one?
No, I'm afraid not. No, but I am looking at the Woodcut and maximised his favourite for that. So,
I think Godolphin will win both. So
yeah. I mean, it would be quite some achievement if you managed to win the first 4 classes of the season. And of course, you'd think there's a massive £2 million bonus if Ruling Court was to win the Derby going on to St Leger. And although they might not want to ruin him from a stallion point of view, I reckon they're going to have something to throw at the race to try and get William to win all 5. If that did come to pass, because they're not going to try and waste that opportunity, are they?
All 5 in 1 year. I can't imagine.
It's never been done. Leicester did 4. He'd missed out on the Oaks.
So William was privy to this information.
And I don't think William was. I think someone else was.
On the call, okay.
Or maybe he was. Didn't say. But yeah, Leicester's done 4 of the 5, but even he couldn't do all 5. So yeah.
That would be some achievement. If we managed to carry the momentum ongoing for our selections. Just reiterate exactly. Derby and Oaks selections.
Derby and Oaks, Ruling Court and Desert Flower.
It's all blue for Jack. What about yourself?
Ruling Court and Whirl.
Lovely. And I went an each way double Damascus and Killing Queen at a big price. So thank you very much once again for watching. I realise actually we haven't gone into where exactly you can find out more, because Jack, you're a prominent tipster on X. What's your handle?
At Jack Nicol Racing.
At Tombull 4, but I mean I don't tweet as much as I should, probably.
You're a lurker, aren't you?
I'm a voyeur.
Oh, interesting. And
Only
moving
on social media.
Yes, I am AJD1 Racing. You can find us there and hopefully enjoy the content and share it around as well with your friends and family and get their selections and provide your selections as well down below. Who's winning the Derby and Oaks of 2025? It's a guessing game, isn't it? We'll see you very soon. Thanks for watching again. Bye-bye.